Today we're going to be talking about Logan, so stay tuned.
Welcome to The Real Review.
Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. I am Joel Cunningham. We didn't do nicknames for ourselves.
No, we didn't do nicknames. I think it's a special episode.
Yes.
We gotta play this one straight.
We'll play this one absolutely perfectly straight.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I can come up with one on the spot for you, Matt, if you like.
Do it, go.
Matt, wearing headphones, hey.
And I'm here with Joel wants to be Logan Cunningham.
Oh, you called me out. That's very true. Well, welcome to the podcast, everybody. We are super excited and happy to have you guys listening in. And as mentioned before by Matt, this is a special episode. We have two people joining us today in the studio, going to be doing a bit of a panel discussion of the film Logan, and we are going to get to those two awesome individuals in just a second. But before we get going, we did want to mention we're going to be starting a special contest here.
Yes, special.
Yes, which came about in a very funny way. I actually purchased a gift card at the wrong movie theater for the wrong contestant for our last contest, and so now we have a leftover $50 gift card.
Yes.
Gotta do something with it. Yeah, so Matt, why don't you tell the listeners about the contest?
So this contest, how you can be a part of it, and how you can get your name in the drawing or the running to win this $50 gift card to AMC theaters,
yes.
I might add.
Yes. Not Harkins, which it should have been.
Right. So this is how you can win it. What you got to do is you got to find a picture online. You can Google image it, whatever, of your most anticipated film coming out this summer.
Yes.
And then post it on your social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. But you got to tag The Real Review or Real Review Media. You got to tag us in it in order for us to count the vote.
Correct.
Or the vote, the tally or whatever to get
entered in the contest.
Exactly.
There you go.
So do that, and we're going to be running this through the end of March.
Yes.
And it's going to be awesome. And someone's going to walk away with $50, which is like basically enough to see one movie.
Yes, lucky listeners for getting that gift card that I can't return.
Yes, exactly.
So awesome, cool. Let's then real quickly. Then why don't we get into talk about some Logan?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to introduce our two panel. I don't know what you would call panelists that we have here in the studio with us. I'm going to start with ladies first. So here we have Tara. Tara, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Tara, doesn't have a nickname, Majuta, which is kind of sad because I'm a storyteller. So you'd think I would have came up with something on the fly, but
That's
I didn't.
Right. Do you have what's the nickname that you have for?
Well, so I always wanted a pet velociraptor whenever I was a kid, so I was going to name them Chewy. So I was going to have that be my nickname.
Oh, that's cool.
Fantastic.
Can you do a Chewy noise though?
There we go. Good enough. That's more like Chewbacca, which is also Chewy.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah, that's what
Thinking
I thought
on my feet.
That's what I thought you were going with. Cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're kind of involved in the outside of the podcast?
Outside of the podcast. Well, as a storyteller, I own a professional writing business. I work with people to edit their content, write stuff. I write my own stuff. I write murder mysteries and dark romance. And if you are in Arizona and you have nothing to do next weekend, you can come meet me at the Tucson Festival of Books on Friday and Saturday. No, Saturday and Sunday.
Nice. Friday and Saturday. Nice. I didn't know they did that. So
yes, it's the third largest book festival in the nation.
Wow.
And it's here in Arizona. And they have like so many authors and over 100,000 people come. And they have really good food.
I might have to check that out myself. That sounds pretty awesome. You sold me with the books, but I'm like even more excited with the food.
Yes.
Like,
food from all over. It's like it's really good.
Oh, that's cool. Well, we're super excited to have you on the podcast, Tara. And Joseph, why don't you talk about yourself?
Yes, sir. My name is Joseph Bills, and I'm a musician, a hip-hop artist, and engineer as well. Perform all over the valley, and if you'd like to check out any of my content, you can look me up on josephbills.com. I got Bill shirts for sale.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I see
the
that.
slogan. I did it in a video once, and every time I go around the same group of guys, first thing they say when they see me, I got Bill shirts for sale. So now I got to say it every time I do anything.
I just noticed that shirt. Right. That's really cool. It got Bill's.
Selfless plug.
That's good. You know, we need to get some real review shirts.
Got reels,
got real.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's a good one.
For reals.
Perfect. Yeah, for reals. That's on the back. Front's got
There you
reals,
go.
back's for reals. Yeah. Awesome. So why don't we talk a bit about the film we are here to talk about? The first half here we're going to do is the non-spoiler version of the film. And then about 15 to 20 minutes into this, we're going to switch it over and give you all a big disclaimer letting you know we're going to be talking about some actual spoilers. So just for you that are out there that are listening that maybe have or haven't seen it, you know what we're going to be doing and can be aware of that. So why don't I start, Tara? Ladies first here again. Why don't I start with your general impression of the film? Like if, leaving after the movie, walking out, what was your first impression of the film?
Well, it was more like a slow crawl out of the movie theater
Yeah.
with my hand on my head scratching going, I really went through all of that. It was an amazing ride would probably be the best way I'd put it. I'm not as into Wolverine as most people that I know. So this was definitely a delight.
Did this help you with your overall Wolverine dislike?
It definitely made me feel like kindredness with him in a lot of different ways. Yeah. And, I'm a huge Marvel fan. Anything that Stan Lee does is amazing.
Awesome.
So it was kind of neat to see this perspective on a quote unquote superhero.
That is really awesome. Yeah. So, Joseph, any thoughts?
I loved it, to be honest with you. It was very, very different than I thought it was going to be, which was a good thing. But it was very, very good story. I don't want to ruin anything, but I was very intrigued and interested the whole time. It was longer than I thought, which usually around those kind of longer movies, I'll start to feel it drawing out, which I didn't feel in this one, which was good. It was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, I would say it felt a little long for me at times. The director, James Mangold, he's kind of, at least in my opinion, he's done a couple films that are pretty long, so it wasn't like shocking to me. But it definitely, there was times where I was like, this is going on a while,
right?
But it never got stale.
Exactly.
It never got
right when you think that something else happened.
Exactly, kept it interesting. So yeah, Matt, what did you say your thoughts were after seeing it for the first time?
This isn't saying a whole lot.
Okay,
but between this and Get Out, might tied for my favorite movie this year.
Yeah,
so, hey,
that's fair enough. Yeah.
No, I really really liked it. Just generally speaking, it's lesser of a superhero movie than it is like just a character drama with superhero like comic book elements.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoyed it. Very character driven. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So that was, we mentioned this, and this is something we could all talk about here. I was really concerned about, because the director basically had mentioned that he wanted to kind of incorporate a more dramatic tone, a more kind of family, almost drama to the series. And that was one thing I was really concerned about, because if there's one thing I don't usually feel that I need in a comic book movie, it's more family drama, or more drama. So I was a bit concerned, but I was pleasantly surprised the way that it kind of worked itself out, because I think it was dramatic, but it was dramatic in a very real, very honest sense, and a very violent sense as well, because the drama is being portrayed by individuals that are, at this point, I think, very unstable and have gone through a lot, and one of them can kill people by cutting their heads off with knives, that are attached to his body, and there's plenty of people that are willing to let him do that, throughout the course of the movie. So one other thing that I talked about when we talked about the film that I was concerned about was the child.
Yeah, I remember you said that like multiple times.
Yes. Yeah. So I normally cannot stand how they bring kids into a film and treat them like they're adults, especially action movies. And when they treat little kids like, they just know everything and they've got everything put together. But I didn't get the sense that they were treating, his daughter, X-23, in that facet, in that way with this film. I felt like they did a good balance of trying to make her seem like a little kid, but a little kid that had a lot of issues, that had kind of grown up under some really harsh, bad circumstances. So what did you guys have any opinions on her, on the daughter, her as an acting job?
I think she did a great job. But she was her role was obviously very serious, and she played it really well.
Yeah.
And I think she was very successful at pulling off a very angst-filled hard childhood / I want to kill everyone type of attitude.
Feral, yes.
Feral is a great.
That is a really good word.
Yeah, that is very true. Terry, did you have any thoughts?
I felt like because I was watching her a lot, and like you, Joel, I was like, oh dear, like, why are they? This has a rated R on it, but I felt like. As a character, they did a really good job with her because, like Matt said, she definitely felt very feral. but you could see the resemblance between the two of them as far as their approach to different things, and her being in the same place as him. It's like, you belong to me. Yeah. Like it's like they were going through that together, and it wasn't, it was a weaving of some sort.
Yeah.
And I thought, I thought that it was kind of, to say it was touching would not be the right word, but I definitely felt like, whenever they wrote out the script and they put these characters together, they actually used a lot of common sense in it. And I appreciated that for the film.
That is really true. There was a lot of commonality, and obviously we won't spoil too much, but I think in the pasts, kind of the dark pasts of both of the characters, we don't get too much of anything with Logan, like from his early days, but at least how his past of how he came to be Wolverine. He went through a lot of really harsh issues, a lot of really bad mistreatment, a lot of difficult circumstances, and it was, similar for her, and I think the only difference is that she experienced that at a much younger age.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it. Yeah.
I was going to say, it seemed like because of, parts of the movie, we see that she kind of has a spirit guide during the first part. So I think that made a difference because, whereas like Wolverine's kind of like, it's just him in the void.
Yeah.
It's like she has somebody who is trying to connect her with the right things.
Kind of like a mentor, guide, counselor, spirit guide, yeah.
And they created the perfect theme. It's kind of like in those superhero movies where a lot of people are lost and things like that. It's kind of like people are willing to sacrifice things that they want and they need in order to put something good in the world. And I think that's what I got from her, that she was like something good in this horrible things that were happening. And
she was willing to give up her life for it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think there were shots where you could just see her watching, and she's like watching the interactions between Logan and Xavier, and she's kind of, you could almost see like clockwork, like type, like things, gears shifting, and her realigning this idea of, oh, well, that's how a person should treat another person. And I thought that was really cool how they treated that way, because these are experiences. It wasn't just like oh, well, that's TV. I've never seen TV for the first time. It was like her learning how to interact and treat another person with consideration and care.
Right.
Yeah. So Matt, did you have any thoughts on her?
I thought she was fantastic. And there was a point, and this isn't really spoiling anything, but there was a point in the movie where I was like, I wonder if she's even gonna talk.
Yeah.
And
that was such a great scene.
I know.
Yeah.
But and then whatever. But her name's Daphne Keane. She was 11 during the shooting of this. Yeah, that's awesome. She really got to go full on crazy and do her thing. And so let me just talk about that briefly too, because this movie made some bold choices in its storytelling, and one of those is the framework that it was built with a rated R format.
Yeah.
And anybody who has seen any of the X-Men movies in the past knows Wolverine's really chopping dudes up. You just never see it on camera. Right?
Yeah. Oh man, the violence in this film.
And you got to think like, it's never that clean.
Yeah.
If this was real, it wouldn't be that clean.
Yeah.
The closest that we have been to it, in my opinion, is maybe the scene from X-Men 2 when they raided the mansion, or Apocalypse when he gets released out of the Weapon X facility in Alkali Lake.
Yeah. There's body parts everywhere.
Yeah. So this, and they do a great job setting up the tone right off the get-go. That whole limousine sequence. And then
you know what you're going to get when you see the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, wow, this is a different movie.
Yeah. It builds up to it perfectly. The tension in that scene is just like, okay, don't mess with. It's like poking a bear.
Right.
You're like, come on, guys, don't stop. Okay, yeah.
Just
like,
don't
you
shoot the car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And not just, here's the thing, and not just setting up the violence, but like his character gets to this place where he's like, I don't really want to get into this fight thing right now.
Yeah.
Even to the point where like he's you get a sense of where he is in life and how desperate he is, especially with the job that he has, with some of the choices he makes.
Yeah.
And I think they just set it up really well, and they did the build from there, and it just worked out really well.
I agree with that. Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to talk about as well was, I think we've talked about Daphne, but sorry, not Daphne. Oh yeah, Daphne.
Yeah, it is
That's
Daphne.
her name. Yeah, we talked about her, but the other actors as well. I feel like, as far as their role and the role that they've played here, you've got Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine again and Patrick Stewart playing Xavier again. We've seen this played in so many different X-Men films now. X-Men
True,
Last
by different
Stand.
people,
The
yeah.
first X-Men movie, but they, in a way, I feel like this is like the best job they've ever done in these roles, and you really got a sense of, in a much, much deeper level, where they're coming from and who they are, and they really had to sell it. Patrick Stewart played such a convincing kind of,
Yes.
I'm losing my mind kind of guy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it was almost sad to watch.
Yeah.
At times, and Hugh Jackman played such like a drunk kind of like could care less about life person that it was also pretty sad to watch at times. So the reason I'm introducing that as well is because I feel like if there was a weakness, if there was anything about the film that personally I felt could have maybe been a little tweaked and improved on, I think that really came in the role of the antagonist. There wasn't a huge amount of room there. I think that the antagonist in a lot of ways was more Hugh Jackman himself.
Right.
Kind of the violence he's doing to himself and the depths that he's willing to just kill myself, type thing. But the actual antagonists that were in the film were good characters, but you never really got a sense of where they were coming from. Like, what were they trying?
Yeah,
what
what's
were they
their stake in the whole
what's their
thing?
stake in it? They're just trying to build big, and we've seen this before. They're just trying to build good weapons to take over the earth with or something. So what were your guys' thoughts on that?
I think that, and you hit the nail on the head. The person that is the most feared is someone who has nothing to lose. So it's hard to build an antagonist or a villain off of a hero that doesn't want to win anything.
Yeah.
So it's like it was an inner battle between Wolverine and Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Scotch
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
that he was dealing
Well,
with.
it's literally an inner battle. You're talking about the metal that's inside of him. They didn't really talk about it in the movie, but that's really the indication is that the metal that's inside of him
It's
is
killing him.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that on our way
poison.
out too.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing like the first Wolverine movie
Yeah.
where he's like going through World War I, World War II, like he can't die, he lives forever.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the whole time, like, how is he getting sick? How is he not healing? And
Yeah.
then, oh yeah, it's the metal in his body. That's
Yeah.
fairly new for
Yeah.
him anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that because
Oh,
we're
snap.
trying to stay away from the spoilers. But
It's all good.
No,
It's all
you're good.
good.
You're good. I think that's pretty clear that they've made it pretty clear in most of the trailers that he's not operating at his peak capacity.
You see
Wolverine.
him. You see
Yeah.
him like bleeding like profusely in the trailer. So you're like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Either
not
that or there's
100%.
50 people right now going, "How dare you!"
I'm
Somewhere.
going to turn this
Yeah,
off.
Sorry, everyone.
I'm turning this off right now. But trust me, we're not spoiling. There's some big spoilers we could be talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, I really do think that it comes down to the fact that this is I wouldn't really necessarily look at it as like a villain versus hero film because it was more like to me it felt like more like an Exodus film.
Yeah.
Like we just need to keep the evil at bay so that we can get this one point done.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what happens. We just have to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
And everybody was in pretty bad shape to begin with. So crossing the finish
Yeah.
line was like, that in itself
a
was
feat in
enough of a
itself.
task.
Yeah,
You know?
I would totally agree with that. I think that's part of why, in a way, the violence was shocking and was so necessary, though, in a same
was
way.
earned,
It
for
was
sure.
earned
Yeah.
because these people are in such a desperate type place that the violence kind of heightened that, and it made it seem almost like more intense. I think if they had shied away from the violence, then it would have almost made it feel more like a drama.
It would have
Yeah.
fell flat.
Yeah, it would have
definitely.
fallen really flat, and it would have been super dramatic. So, in regards to just the characters, and I think we're pretty close to getting into spoiler territory here, but just in regards to the story structure as a whole, do you guys feel like there was good or bad elements?
I was really impressed, like what you were saying earlier about what's the actor's name for Xavier?
Patrick Stewart, yeah.
He did a phenomenal job, especially like talking about character builds from where he was always in control, always knows the right answer, to being like completely lost was
Right.
pretty cool to see.
Nice. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think he nailed it. It's like it's probably his last time in the role, I'm assuming. I mean, maybe he'll reprise it for one of the the
We'll
first
see.
class type. Yeah.
TBD.
TBD. Yeah, we know it's Hugh Jackman's, which you showed.
Hugh Jackman said a number of times he's done, unless they can somehow get him to join the Avengers. That's what he said.
Right.
He'd come back for it, but I
Which
don't.
should be amazing.
I don't see that happening. But
Yeah. So shameless plug for our Facebook and website here. You posted that tribute video.
yes,
Which I've refused to watch.
I watched it. I
'Cause
got it
I know
all.
I'm like I was just telling Tara that I don't cry with movies at all, but I might actually tear up with that one. Just whenever they do those like best I will remember, like I always just get really
Right.
Celine Dion in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was
It
a
could be,
Johnny
like,
Cash
stupid
song though.
photos.
It was
Is it Hurt?
hurt. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's gonna make you cry.
So what happens?
It will make me cry. I know.
They,
yeah.
they don't. So all it is, and I posted it, like I said, on our page,
Yeah.
but it's just showing Hugh Jackman, all of his early X-Men roles, to kind of a little bit of what you see in the trailers and
that's
Logan,
cool.
and with that music in the background. And I told Joel this. I felt when I left the theater, I felt a little down a little bit, but I wasn't fully there. And then I watched this video later that night, and I was like, oh, it hit me. Like I was like,
it's really real.
We're never getting Hugh Jackman again, because he said he's done doing this. And so just it's a bummer.
You texted me, and I think I literally sent back like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna watch that."
Yeah, you told me.
It's not real if I don't watch it.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
I think we were talking about that too. It's like, what, 17 years at doing this role?
Yeah,
It's
17 years.
crazy. It
Yeah.
makes me feel so old.
Some people's
I know.
childhoods.
It's like I
know.
remember watching the first movie when I was in high school and going like, "Wow, that was pretty interesting." You know, I thought that was like the peak of where comic book movies could go and stuff. So it's been a pretty good ride. So we'll get into spoiler territory in just a sec. I think, Matt, if there's anything else you want to talk about, we can. The one thing I did want to do is, because there's probably going to be some people that might turn off the podcast at this point, but I wanted to get a rating in from each of you, just on a scale of like 1 to 100, the A to F rating, where you would kind of rate the film. So who wants to go first?
Percentage,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I would probably give it a 95 on 1 to 100.
Matt's like,
And-
yes.
and I would give it an A- only because there were definitely parts where I felt like it was just too long. Like
Okay.
they needed to speed up the process. But
Okay.
yeah, I thought it was a really well crafted movie.
Nice. All right. Joseph?
I think I didn't really give this much thought till now. I think I would give it a 90. Not necessarily like 10% of it missing, but usually for something to be 100 for me, I have to like really feel like, oh, that was
Gotcha.
the perfect movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
There wasn't really too much wrong with it. For me, it was, like I said, entertaining, and I enjoyed watching the whole thing.
Awesome.
Something I'd watch again if my wife
Yeah.
wanted to see it, which I know she won't, but that's all
Very
right.
good. Yeah.
That's all
I've been surprised by how many guys have managed to get their wives to go watch this movie. I actually think you didn't get yours, no, but
She
like
would not want to see this.
The
Yeah.
only way I got her to see Deadpool is because it was funny. So
Yeah.
I didn't really have that. It didn't look like this was going to be that funny.
we
so.
were talking about this last week though. A lot of people, because The Shack is out, and
Oh,
so a
yeah.
lot of ladies want to go see The Shack. And so a lot of ladies are like, well, we'll go see The Shack. We can go see, Logan. So kind of working out for
Well,
people.
I told you guys earlier that was kind of like a quasi second date for me and this guy. It was let's go see Logan, and
It's a good test.
It will forever be marked by this movie now.
Right.
and so I went with like him and his friends, and it was just kind of like it was an experience because they came out and they're like crying and stuff, and I was like patting them, it's gonna be okay.
You're like
You're gonna
consoling
be
them.
fine. Like,
Here, have some popcorn. It's okay.
Yeah, right.
but they were like in unison. They were all just like, it was the best movie ever. And I was like, yeah, it was a really good movie. And they're like, so you're you liked it? I was like, yeah. Totally. I was like, it's good.
So good second date movie, bad second date movie. What would you say?
It was definitely a good second date. So all the girls that are listening, you have to go see this movie with your boyfriends.
It will. I would say it will. Good points. You'll get some points there. I would
Yeah.
imagine. Yeah.
A lot of cool points.
Matt, review wise, what are you thinking?
I'm going 96. I love this
96.
thing. And you say like 90, Joseph, like it's bad. 90 is a great
Right,
score. So
right.
here,
Yeah.
90. I'm going 96. There was only one scene, one series of scenes towards the end, right before the like final thing that happens, that I felt like it was a little dragging, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And other than that, I felt like these are nitpicky too. I'm not even
Yeah.
thinking there's like, I don't really have major things. Maybe there could have been, like you said earlier, a little bit more of an antagonist. While I did enjoy Boyd Holbrook's character, who played
Yeah.
Pierce, that like
Yeah.
blonde Southern guy that was tracking him the
He
whole
was
time.
good. Yeah.
Metal Arm.
Really like charismatic and like, I was like, I really
he was
liked-
very
He was hard to
menacing.
hate.
Yeah.
He was really hard to hate. Like I
Like,
almost wanted
yeah,
him to
like-
succeed, you know?
You're like, all right, buddy.
He's a really cool guy. I like
You're
that
evil,
gold toothy
but
guy, you know?
Let's go get a beer. We'll hang out. Yeah.
But in 96, yeah. So I think this is my highest rated film
Wow.
of the year so far. Again, not saying much. It's beginning of March, but
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Very cool. Awesome. Well, I think I'd give it. I really want to see it a second time, so I will say that. But I think I would give it about a 94.
Okay.
I think cinematography-wise, we haven't even talked about cinematography-wise. It was really good.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful cinematography. I think one other aspect I did feel was draggy a bit. One other minor grunt. Like it's not an issue, but it's one thing that I think they maybe missed a bit of an opportunity was the music it was good.
Oh,
It
yeah.
serviced, and it's often overlooked, but it fit the scenes and it helped you know what you needed to feel, but there wasn't like any themes that were like really being drawn out with the music. There wasn't really anything that it was doing that was like, okay, yeah, like I get what you're saying with that, because so it wasn't bad by all means, but it just wasn't like
There are actually a
100%.
lot of good quiet. Now that I think about it, there's a lot of good quiet moments
yeah,
too.
a lot of good silence.
Yeah,
in
like
it.
a lot of good
Yeah.
silent moments.
It's
true.
a good like
Yeah.
sci-fi western. That's how I'm gonna say this thing.
Yeah, and it helps to build attention. But I'm just saying that's one little that would be and I think that's a subjective thing a bit too. Is like what people like in music is going to be one thing.
I actually was going to say I like the fact that they didn't do a lot of that,
Yeah.
because I'll sit there and point out I'm a commercial watcher, so like I'll notice certain music that they want you to feel like this or like that to buy their product.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that I got all the emotions I did get without a lot of the music telling me to get there.
Yeah.
I feel like the actors brought that to the scenes a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is I love a great actor, and I feel like everyone really did well. in
Yeah, I
this
think
film.
the lack of music can really build the tension. It can help with action scenes at times you don't even need it, and it just lets you see the action for what it is. There was, I think, just a couple sort of dramatic scenes. I think especially between Hugh Jackman's character and Daphne's character, where it could have used, I think, a little something to maybe just kind of
Little
sweeten
pepper
it.
on it.
Yeah, a little pepper, a little
Salt Bae.
little salt, pepper, yeah, sweeten it up a little bit. So, but it was really good overall. So, cool. So with that.
Yeah, hey, this is your spoiler warning, everybody.
Officially.
Spoiler. We are going to be diving into spoilers. It is now your fault if you are still listening and you haven't stopped this, but we are getting to spoilers.
Yeah.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, spoilers.
So
Logan and
dead.
Professor X die.
They both died.
both
Get over
did,
it.
yeah.
Pretty much everybody in that movie died.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I'm surprised we didn't have anybody die, come back to life. You know what I mean? It was
Seriously.
just like everybody's getting killed off.
Right. So one thing I want to point out that I thought was really crazy, and this adds to what you're talking about. Everybody's coming from this like really starting off just like really in this really low place.
Yeah.
You know? First of all, you're asking these questions. Why is it just Logan and Professor X? Where's the rest of the X-Men?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you find out later, like, Charles is having these like fits, and like people are like, dying, and then all it took was a brief radio thing saying, hey, there was this incident in Westchester where the X Mansion is, where the school for the gifted was.
That's a trip. I didn't
And
even
he's
realize
like,
that.
yeah, and he goes, yeah, and it's like 7 mutants and a couple hundred people died.
Like 500,
And it cuts
600
off.
people died or something.
Right,
Yeah.
and you're like,
And he cuts
you're
it
like,
off, turns it off.
that's got to be the X-Men. He probably
Yeah.
killed his team. Like, that is sad.
Probably why he's so sad all the time. Like,
Right.
what have I done?
Yeah,
That one part.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about, because it's in it. Somebody made a joke about it being like The Notebook, but there's like kind of a moment. There's kind of a moment where he's in bed, which is that scene when they're finally things have kind of. It's like the middle lull.
I thought it was a
where they're in the
dream, man.
cabin
Yeah.
and he's kind of like he's saying like, I'm remembering this, and you must be so angry at me, and then you see what looks like Wolverine stab him right in the chest, and you're just like, oh, he was. It's like you're thinking for a second, oh my gosh, he was holding this grudge, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, he looks kind of different, and they're like, oh, what a twist, you know what I mean? It's
Like
such a good
Matt was
twist.
saying, I thought it was a dream too. And then you see the girl starting to get it. I'm like, oh wait, no, this is really happening.
Yeah.
whole
How is there
family.
another?
Yeah.
The whole
It did seem
thing.
like a
poor
These
family.
poor
Yeah.
good Samaritans, and that's
Oh.
kind of like, because I think about Smallville. Whenever you learn Superman's secret, you either leave or you die.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And it was kind of like that. I felt like everybody was, they were all sacrificing their lives to get this girl to safety.
Yeah.
And as a storyteller, I was just like, oh, you get sad. You're like, no, everybody's dying. But then you're like, but I totally understand.
It's worth
Yeah.
it to get her to safety.
Yeah.
Because she literally is like the legacy, and in order for the first the next generation to come forward, the first generation has to pass away.
It's bittersweet in that sense, but I think since Xavier didn't know what was going to happen, it seems so harsh for him to die that way, because he's literally seen him at this point. He's remembering he's done this horrible deed. He's been stabbed in the chest. They're all under
man.
attack, and then he dies.
I felt
You
it
know?
when Logan was like, it wasn't me, Logan. He's like
Yes.
carried.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my
That
gosh,
was so
because you don't
subtle.
want him thinking like that Logan, his friend, killed him.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that was his
And he's
last
going through
memory.
this dementia. So,
Yeah.
nice point. I totally forgot that it was so fast, but
I
that was
think
huge.
what that really did for me so well, though, is it really tied into what theme-wise was a big part of this film, which is that idea that, what difference does your life make? What purpose? Like, you're reaching this older age, it's like, what have you accomplished with your life? Can you look back on your life and say that you've done good things, you've done bad things, are you still haunted by your past? And that was a huge like red flag moment almost, where it was like, you look at this guy who's done his absolute best and in a lot of ways probably feels like he's failed.
Right.
And he's dying with this sense of failure. And it was just such a sad
But
thing
think about
for me.
it. Do you remember before he even got into that, he was talking about how like they had dinner with the family and stuff. And he's like, I really wanted this. He's like, this is one of the best days that I've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
So even though it was like very bittersweet, it's almost like he got his wish, but
That is true. Yeah.
but his wish coming true terminated like a lot of things as well. It terminated an entire
That
family and himself.
That was one of the bold choices I was talking about earlier. Like as the clone X-24 was Logan clone was killing everybody, I was like, this is happening right now?
Yeah.
Like
That's like the whole movie.
I cannot
You're
believe
like,
it. He kills the
they're
kid.
dying?
He
What's
kills the
that?
kid. Kills the wife. The guy. I was like, oh my god.
But
I
it was
think-
oh sorry.
No, go for it. Yeah, what were
But
you
it
saying?
was crazy whenever, you know, the guy ended up saving, you know, Logan for that brief period of time, and then he goes to shoot him, but there's no bullets left, and then he just
gives
kind
it
of
up.
died like right there.
That is a good point. So I saw this film with my sister and my mom. My sister actually really didn't like that scene. And she was like, I don't think he would have tried to shoot him. I mean, he tried to, and I'm like, no.
He was
He
dying.
definitely
He
would have, though.
I would have probably
Yeah,
at
he
least
saved
thought
him,
about
and
it.
then
I
he
mean,
thinks my whole family just
You
died
got my
because
whole family
you guys
killed
are
because of
here.
you guys,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what I think. That's what he was thinking when there was that pause when he's looking at him.
Yeah.
That's got to be what's running through his head. Like,
processing it.
dude,
Yeah.
my whole family's dead right now. Man, click.
Yeah, yeah. So that was crazy. The moment that the thing is I would say that it was crazy how they showed it and how it happened. The moment that actually shocked me almost more so than a lot of other films, because I felt like the way they handled it was the scene where Xavier is kind of having his freak out mode and they're in the hotel and he's like, you know, everything's shaking and
Scene is incredible.
And Wolverine's going down the hallway and he gets into the room and he stares at the guy and the guy locks eyes with them. And they look at each other for a second, and then he just goes, "Huh," and he just stabs the guy right in the face. And it's like he goes through the whole room and he just kills one person at a time, just stabbing him in the head. And I'm like, if that had been any other Marvel movie, he would have just like knocked them all out. You know what I mean? He would like tripped them or like incapacitated them or something. Like, this is
Wolverine's like, nah, you just die.
He's like,
homie.
nah, you're dead, bro.
Right.
I'm just gonna kill everyone. Or he would have like chopped their guns up. You know what I mean, or something like that. So I mean that was just such a shocking moment. So, all right, let's talk about the ending though. Let's talk about the fact that they killed off, you know, Wolverine. How do you feel like that left you? I mean, are you excited to see where they take it with X-23? Do you want them to hopefully maybe bring Wolverine back at some point? Like, what was your feelings on that scene as well?
I was at first disappointed. Like, well, now you can't make any more X-Men.
Yeah.
And then me and Matt were actually talking about it because what if they make another X-Men, but it takes place before this?
Yeah.
So he could still come back, and we could still see him in more if he chooses to.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really that happy that he like actually died, because for me, I'm like, Wolverine can't die. He heals. Like, What do you mean he can't die?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
impossible. And so he's dead. It's like, no, it doesn't compute.
Very, very true. That's very fair. And they absolutely could. And the thing that we talked about earlier today on the radio show recording we did is retcons. They're always retconning. It's like, oh, well, they're not actually dead. Or, oh, well, we figured out this random warm time loop thing where we can pull somebody out of another, you know, galaxy or
wormhole,
something.
yeah.
Wormhole. So, Tara, what did you think?
You know, I liked, there was that that scene where he was talking to his daughter and she said, you know, like, he told me not to let you kill yourself, pretty much. And he didn't.
Yeah.
He ended up dying because he sacrificed for all these kids,
Right.
all these mutants that he was, you know, pretty much expelling. So, like, I personally would not like to see him, like, come back in anything else, because I felt like that was a beautiful send-off.
Right.
And one of the things that the people that I went with to go see it, he said that he was tearing up at the fact whenever she was, like, you know, calling him daddy and stuff.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
felt like, you know, these are two people that didn't talk because, one, she wasn't talking.
Which that, I will say, that was such a, I want to hear the rest of your thought, but that was such a hilarious scene because the whole movie you said, she's not talking. And then all of a sudden she starts talking. You're immediately like, wow, she's talking a lot. Okay, you can stop talking now.
And then
It's
couldn't
so
shut her
fit her
up.
personality, though, because she just seems like this, like, just, I want to do whatever I want to do.
Fiery, for
Yeah.
sure.
So, sorry, what was the rest of your thought there?
So I felt like it was kind of like, it was literally the passing of the torch from father to daughter, and they didn't have an opportunity to actually get to know one another.
Yeah.
And one one thing that I really liked about this movie versus other superhero movies is it didn't have the quibs in there. It didn't have like all of that cheap, punches.
Yeah.
It was literally just kind of like
take a slice out of this. And,
I'm really gonna slice you this time.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where the two of them had this prolific moment. She took out the cross. She like laid it on his gravestone like a sword, and went on her way. I thought that was a great ending.
I think the metaphor for that was an X.
Yeah.
So she turned it into, because he's like the last X-Men, the famous last X-Men to die.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what did you think?
It was sad. It was definitely sad, but like you said, I thought it was a brilliant send off for him. If this is his last thing, that's a great high note to go off of.
Yeah. Would you guys like to see? Oh, sorry. Finish your thought.
No, I was going to say. So what's going to happen is Fox is going to, like you said, they're not a fan of like keeping time continuity. So what happens is they're going to recast the Wolverine.
Yeah.
They're in the 80s right now from what was the last one? Apocalypse, right?
Yep.
And then they're going to do the next one's supposed to be in the 90s, and then they're going to keep going.
Oh snap! I didn't
And so
realize that.
they're going to recast Wolverine.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
You'll probably see him in the next film, I would imagine, or maybe they'll wait a film.
Maybe
they'll give a healthy pause.
Right. So James Mangold,
he'll be an after.
He wants
film
to
clip.
He wants to work with Daphne again, and they want to do X-23. So here's the thing: if they decide to do that, it's got to be in the future still.
Yeah.
Because out to 2029 is this one, right? So it was definitely sad, but again, I don't think you could bring him back without kind of cheapening this ending almost.
Yeah, true.
They'll do X-Men Days of Future. The sequel. Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree. I would love to see her. I don't know if they could do Daphne, because I don't know if they could do a film starring her at that age. I mean, it would be interesting to see how they try
She's
and do
already
that.
like 2 years older than that too. I mean, there's
I don't know how old she
drastic.
is. She looked like she was like in her
she was
tweens.
11.
She's 11. Okay.
She was 11 during that. She's like 13 now.
I mean, there's still a lot of unanswered questions as far as like who they're going to see in Canada Land.
Exactly, like where they're going to go.
Yeah, and the people that they were talking to on the CB radio to go meet up with. So I mean, they could definitely do something with her if they brought enough. I think other additional cast.
Did you get misty-eyed?
Did I get misty-eyed? I didn't get misty-eyed. I did get I got choked up.
Are you alive inside?
Do you have a heart?
I expected. The thing was, I expected it. I saw it coming, and that's the problem with me in my brain. A lot of times when I watch movies, I'm always thinking the worst. Because I'm always expecting the director to be like, "I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this." So it's very rare that I actually see a moment, and I'm like, "Whoa." Did not see that coming at all, and I'm really sad about it.
You always prepare yourself.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I told Joseph this after we saw it. It was like a solid 20 minutes after Daphne comes out after chopping the dude's head off and rolling it at him.
Yeah.
I was like, solid 20 minutes. Like my jaw was just kind of like still like, I can't believe
That's
that
how
just
she came out.
happened.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, that is intense, but like it's a good setup for character.
For hers, exactly.
And not to mention that she has blades out of her feet.
That was
Right.
pretty cool
Right.
too, yeah. I
Which I thought was
great.
interesting how you described that about the whole like
The female
lioness.
lioness,
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I read up on that side note.
did you?
So she's a clone of a clone-ish-esque person of Logan.
Mm-hmm.
She had 3 claws just like that, but they removed it in the middle one and put it in her foot.
Oh, okay. So they put it there.
I did not know that. That's interesting. The more
whatever.
you know.
I don't know, but
Yeah, the more you know,
Yeah.
for sure.
Now she can have an easier time climbing trees and stuff, I guess.
Oh, dude, she could scale them.
She could just scale right
cool.
up
just
that tree.
chop it down and
There you
whatever.
go.
Yeah,
Probably
so-
more realistic.
All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up pretty closely here. We're running into
Let's talk about one
one
more
more thing. Yeah,
The final sequence in the woods with all the kids.
yeah.
Okay, so you think kids, and this is another problem with kids
I
you
didn't like
mentioned.
that. I didn't like the kids in that final scene. I will say.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, not too much.
Although it was, they kept it brutal. They kept the same
and they
theme.
killed the old boy.
Yeah.
Well, especially when the girl that was making all the stuff from the ground
nature,
rise and
yeah.
like shot it at him,
Yeah.
and like the dude's face was all falling off.
Totally split him apart.
Yeah.
But
It was super brutal. Yeah.
just when, because the whole time I'm like, what is going on? Like, you're wondering why he's sick, and I guess it's alluded to kind of like how people had like metal hip replacements back in the day, then they had to get him moved out because they're getting poisoned by it. That's kind of what my thought of why he was dying.
Yeah.
Just like the doctor said, you have something in you that's poisoning you. And he takes that medicine, and the first thing I was thinking was like, he looks younger. I don't see any of the scars. I lean over to Joseph. I go, wait, are all his scars gone? He's like totally healed right
I didn't
now.
even notice till he said, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, he is. And he's like totally there. I'm like, there's hope. Maybe he's better now.
Right.
They build you up a little bit.
and
And
it
then
wears
like,
off.
it wears him
Yeah.
off. And then they're like, yeah, there's no way he can heal after that. I'm like, what?
So you shouldn't have
yeah.
taken all the juice then, yeah?
Yeah,
that-
it took too much juice.
Oh man. Anyway, that sequence was crazy. Did you guys have any
I
thoughts?
loved it because I was
Yeah.
wondering what these little kids' powers are. Because I'm
Yeah.
watching the movie like, oh, what does he do? What does he do?
Yeah.
And they didn't show me anything until that very end. Like a little electric kid. He's fast.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
little boy, he's got some meat on him, but he was moving.
Yeah.
Did you see
He
him?
was running.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, he was quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one kid I don't think they ever gave you his power was the one that looked like the fish. Did you see that
I think
kid?
we're just supposed to assume he's like a reptilian
He's like
type
reptilian, so if they had
thing
water,
guy.
they had a
Yeah.
river there. We'd be like, come get
He
some.
would have been on.
Come get some.
He hated living in the desert for all that time.
He was having a really hard time. He was probably the first one taken. He's just like, just take me. I ain't doing nothing.
I'm over it.
Yeah. Well,
that's
awesome,
funny.
guys. It's been great having you all on here. And just before we wrap up, I want to give you a chance to once again plug. You've got your music, you've got the Terra books. Where can people find out more about you both?
So if you go to my website,
Yes.
terramahudabooks.com, you can connect up with me and learn more things about me and my books that are not Logan related.
Very good. Awesome.
That's awesome. By the way, that's really impressive that you're like an author. I tell my wife about this. She's at the gym across the street.
Oh, yeah?
She'll probably want to go to that book. Was it book fair? Is it in
Tucson Festival of Books.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure she'll want to go. Probably
very
drag me. I probably shouldn't mention it. But, I'm Joseph Bills. You can find all my music content, video content at josephbills.com. I do have Got Bill shirts for sale. And I'll be doing a hip-hop contest where you can vote for me to possibly win some really cool prizes.
Very nice.
So
Yes.
look me up. All my socials are on the website.
Very cool.
Nice.
So, and we'll definitely make sure to put your guys' info on the episode so that
Oh,
people
awesome.
can check you
Yeah.
out as well.
Oh,
so,
thank you.
Super
Yes.
fantastic.
So thank you for joining us. For all of you listening in, definitely check out what we've got going on our website, which is realreviewmedia.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook, which is Real Review Media. Facebook.com/Real Review Media.
You get it.
Yeah, there you go. And as always, we'd love to hear from you. Any comments, questions? Maybe you did get a little teary-eyed, got a little choked up, and want
Yeah.
to share your thoughts on what happened. And as well, definitely check out our contest that we've got going on. But we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com. And as always, it's spelled REEL right now.
Yep. Like a fishing reel.
Like a fishing reel.
That
There
was
you
like
go.
a movie reel.
Awesome. Yeah. So
no, what do you mean movie reel? Fishing reel. Duh.
cool. So it's been real.
It's been real.